Hello, welcome to Live Long in Color. I want to thank everyone for stopping by today, and for everyone who has subscribed to my channels, thank you very much. You are also greatly appreciated. Today's video, I am going to go over how I do simple backgrounds and what tools that I use to do them. First off, I want to go over what I use to do simple backgrounds. I use basically three different things. I use eyeshadow. I use the Profusion from Walmart. It's like $4 and something. I don't know the exact amount for 10 different colors. And that's one thing I use. Another thing I use are oil pastels. I picked out this one for today's demonstration. It is the Pentrista oil pastels. And then I have the Mungyo pastels. These are the chalk pastels. So those are the three things that I use, the three different mediums that I use to do them. And then as far as the supplies are concerned, these are what I use. I use cotton swabs. I basically use the Hill Country brand from H-E-B or the Equate brand from Walmart. I don't really care for the Q-tips as much, but I will use them if I have them. As far as the cotton rounds, these are the different types. This one is my least favorite. It is the one from Dollar Tree. As you can see, they fall apart really easily. I bought them to test them out and to show you here. They're not very good. I wouldn't recommend them. Then we have these cotton squares. As far as laying down eyeshadow, they don't work very well. They do okay as far as if you want to use them to wipe it off, but I won't be buying any more of these. I wasn't that happy with them. Then we have the Equate brand from Walmart. That's this one. And they are pretty good. I don't mind them. They do have a tendency to come apart a little bit, but as far as when you lay down the color or wipe it off, they work pretty good. And then this is my favorite. Not that one. This one here is the Whisper brand. I get this at Walmart. The package looks like this. And these are my favorite. They are very sturdy, and they work really well when you lay down the color. Then what I also use is I bought these. These are eyeshadow applicators. I bought these at the Dollar Tree, and they work pretty good. Something else I use this cosmetic brush. A lot of times when you're using chalk pastel or even the oil pastels will leave crumbs when you're using them, and this works really good to brush them off. And then I use a polymer eraser like this one from Pastels to help remove some of the background if I get it in the wrong spot. So that's everything that I use. Now, what I'm going to do today is I have these pictures. This is from Easy Coloring from Jade Summer. I printed out these two pictures to do background with. And then I have this one from Cute Christmas from Jade Summer. And this one I have already started. And I thought I would show you how to do show you one where it's more... the background is a little bit more crowded. Now, most people, and even I, for the most part, would recommend putting the background first. Do I do that most of the time? No. I'd say like 90% of the time I do it at the end. Mainly because when I color a picture, I don't plan anything out. That's just me. I grab the colors as I'm coloring. I go, oh, I think this will look nice with this, or oh, this will look nice with that. I don't ever plan a color palette. I don't look up color palettes online. I don't study the color wheel to see if this goes with that. I mean, all that's fine and dandy. I just go with my gut and do what I like. And sometimes it comes out good and sometimes it don't, but either way, I have a lot of fun doing it, and this is just my way. But if you are the type to to plan out your colors and know what you're going to do, then doing your background first makes a lot of sense, because then you'll know what color you want to do. I don't know until I finish basically what color I want to do the background. So doing it first will allow you to color over a lot if you get it in the areas where you don't want it, basically. So that's why most people do it that way. What I'm going to do is the one that I've already colored, I'm going to do with the chalk pastel. This one I'm going to do with the oil pastel, and this one I'm going to do with the eyeshadow. So we're going to start with the oil pastel today. We're going to start with this one. And I decided that I was going to do a light yellow background for this. And basically what I do is I just take it and I color, and I don't go right up to the end. I go as close as possible to the side. Now, another thing I want to say is this is cardstock. This is stuff I printed out on my printer. I do have a problem with the ink of the printer bleeding a little bit onto my pictures because I'm not using water-fast ink. I've read online that if you use a laser printer, it's better than an inkjet. I currently have an inkjet, and it's an old one at that. And the ink that I buy, this last batch has been particularly bad. I have such an old printer that I have to buy all my ink on eBay, and some of it is expired. Most of it is expired, so I get what I can. Eventually I want to get a better printer. If you're doing this in coloring books, you don't have to worry about that like I do here. So basically I just color in a spot, and I never do the whole picture at once, because a lot of times the longer you leave this, the more it dries out. Then I take a cotton swab and I use this and to push it up to where the line is for the artwork. And then I use it to just smooth everything in as much as possible. And I take some of the crumbs and I'll smush it in. If you get crumbs where you don't want them, that's where the cosmetic brush is. You just kind of brush it off and they come right off. Then what I'll do is I'll take one of these, a square, a round, whatever I have, and I rub it off. And what you do is you go away from the picture so that you try not to get any in the picture whenever possible. I personally don't mind if it gets into the border because I usually put washi tape, but if that bothers you, then you'd have to kind of be careful where you put it. Now, I don't know if you can see, but there's a little bit that got here. If you want to take that off, sometimes if it's a very light color especially, I don't know if I can get it out. Oh, yeah, there we go. You can use the eraser and erase it off. So basically that's how I use oil pastel for the background. That's also how I use it if I'm going to color the picture. So say a picture like this lends itself to using oil pastels because there's a lot of open spaces that you can use. And I find that if I use them in really small spaces, they don't work as well. But if I use them in bigger spaces, so say I want to do these berries, I just basically do the same thing. I color it. Take the cotton swab. Push it into, now if I didn't go close enough and I don't get it over there like I like, I can always go back and add some more, which I probably do here because I kind of didn't like the way that. So you just come in and add a little bit more to it. And then you continue this. And then once it's done, I take one of these. I'm going to use the same one and just rub it off. Now technically I don't think you have to rub it off because you know, if you want to do the picture and just leave it. I don't like the way it feels. I don't like it waxy. So that comes out really smooth. And then if you want to try to take where I got the pink off, you can just try to erase it a little bit. And for the most part, that comes off pretty good. So that's how I use oil pastels, either in pictures or as background. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this with these Pentristas, and I'm going to probably shade it or go over it a bit with colored pencils. If you use colored pencils over the oil pastels, it works great. If you try to use gel pens or stuff like that over oil pastels, it doesn't, a lot of times they don't work. They won't lay down. And some markers don't either. So basically color pencils will work really great on oil pastels, but markers and gel pens especially, don't work that well. Okay, so then that's that. Next, we have this picture, and I'm going to do the background with eyeshadow. I'm going to use this green color right here. There's a couple of different ways you can do it. You can use the applicator and just lay down, lay it down with the applicator. I don't use the applicator much, except for maybe to get into these small spaces. It just seems to take forever for me. What you can also use is the cotton swabs. Now if you're going to use the cotton swabs, what my suggestion is do very lightly. You don't want to dig into this because the eyeshadow is very loose powder, and as you can see here, if you dig in too far, it'll come loose. And then what you do is you just do the same thing. You just go through and get up. You can get up real close. I actually prefer using the cotton swabs over the applicator, if I'm honest. But they both work pretty good. But it does take longer. Like if I were to do the whole picture with the applicator or the cotton swab, it would take a bit longer. So what I like to do is I like to take the applicator, cotton round, put it over my finger like this, put a little bit on there, and just go in a circular motion and lay down. And for the most part, it comes out smoother than if you use the applicator. Because sometimes when you use the applicator or like the cotton swab, it lays down darker where you first put it down. and you get an effect where you got some darker spots and some lighter spots. Now I personally like that, and you even get that a little bit this way, but it does have a tendency to be smoother if you just use your finger and a cotton round to lay it down. Now, some people like to use things like their fingers just to smooth things out, or those, you know, rubber tips you put on your fingers. I don't like those. I find that this works better for me. But yeah, it goes really smooth, and it's in a very short amount of time. You have a really good background. Simple, easy, and it doesn't take very long. And you can go as dark or as light as you want. I have a tendency to go lighter, but if you want it darker, you can. And then what I do is I take the same one, if I can, and go over it again and wipe as much off as I can. You're going to get a little bit off, and then that way you have it doesn't transfer onto other pages. And this works, I'm using this on cardstock, but I've done this on just regular Amazon printed paper, the real thin paper. It works fine. The only thing you have to watch when doing it on those thinner papers is when you're rubbing it like I do, you have to hold it down really good, because I have a tendency to crinkle the papers. And that's the only thing. Other than that, it works. Even the oil pastels will work on those papers, that type of paper. So that's basically such a simple, easy way to do a background with eyeshadow. Now, I do want to mention that if you use this type here, these ones that are really glitter, they don't lay down as well with the method to use the cotton rounds. You're better off with the applicator, because they're really loose and they clump. So you really have to spread them out really good, so they don't always work as well as just the regular eyeshadow. Okay, so that's that. And then lastly, I'm going to take this, and we are going to use the chalk pastels. And basically it's the same technique. I have this little thing that my husband made me, and it holds the pastel. You don't need it. You can, you know, put the pastel on your desk, or just leave it in the box. And basically it's the same technique. I just take the cotton swab, put it on, and then I just rub it in. You're going to hear a little scritching noise. I apologize for that. Now this way, when I use the soft pastels like this, the chalk pastels, they do have a tendency to be dark and light in spots. I personally like that effect, but you know, if you don't, then I have seen people who basically shave it off, and you get, if you can see, you can get the little powder, and then they take their finger and rub it in. Now I don't use my finger because I hate getting my hands dirty like that. I just can't stand it, but that's just me. And basically I do the whole picture, and I would say 9 times out of 10 I will use the cotton swab to do the whole picture. It takes a little longer, but I like to do that with the chalk pastels. And then I try to take the I don't know what they're called, the little shaving things, and the dust, I guess is what you call it, and rub that in so I don't waste it. But you can do the other technique too, where you take the cotton round, put it around your finger, rub it off, and rub it in. That works just as well, and it takes less time than using the cotton swab. So if you have a lot of large areas and you want to use this, then just take the cotton round and do the same exact thing as you did with the eyeshadow, and it works perfect. And see how fast and easy that is? It just goes through. Now, getting into the smaller spaces, you are going to need to use the cotton swab, unless you want to get it on, you know, if you don't mind getting it on your picture. So basically that's how I do it. Quick, easy. And then I do the same exact thing that I do. So when I'm done, I wipe it all off as much as possible, so you always get some more. And I basically wipe it off until it comes out mostly clean. Now the black that you're seeing on there is from the ink on my printer. But yeah, that's it. Such a quick, easy way to do backgrounds. You know, especially if you don't want to do anything too fancy and you just want a simple. Now, saying you don't want anything too fancy doesn't mean you can't utilize multiple colors. Like I've done some where I'll do the middle is yellow and then orange and then a pink and try to do a sunset effect. I've done that before. Or where, like, say you have this and the top is sky and you want to do the bottom, you can do the bottom in a different color. Like if I wanted to do this in, I don't know if I have a color here that I could use. I could do this one, I guess. If I wanted to say that this was the table that this was setting on, and I just wanted to do a different color, you can do that. You can come down here and put down the darker colors. As you can see, they lay down. You have a little bit more of a chance of it being darker in spots and lighter in others, but you can just keep going over it until you smooth it out and get it where you want it. But yeah, so you can do two different colors. It doesn't mean you have to stick with one color throughout your whole background. You can do whatever kind of effects that you want. You could go around this apple in one color and then do the rest in another. So there's all kinds of things that you can do. And then you just wipe it off. And the same applies to this chalk or this eyeshadow that applied to the other. If you get in areas you don't want, you use an eraser. And depending on how dark the color that you use, it comes off. That had quite a bit of dark eyeshadow on it, but you just put an eraser and there. Same thing if you get it in the picture, you can just use an eraser and take it right off. Okay, so one other thing that I forgot to go over as far as simple backgrounds are concerned is using crayon. I use crayon a lot in my backgrounds. These are the ones that I use. These are the confetti. I don't want to get too close because it won't focus. So let me just do a little bit of this picture here. Okay, so one thing that I do when I use crayons is I make sure that I go in one direction. So I either go this way or I go this way. And for the most part, I have a tendency to go horizontally. So what I do is I'll just take the crayon and just color. I don't use any other thing besides the crayon. And then once I've laid down the crayon, I'll take the cotton round and I'll wipe it off, just as if it was an oil pastel. Because I really don't like the waxy feel of it. Plus, it'll keep it from looking splotchy. Now this is confetti, so it has little lines of other colors in, which I like, which is why I have a tendency to use it. So then I just start here, and I work my way this way, making sure I'm on screen here. I try to do long strokes. Except for here at the end, I'll try to use a little smaller strokes so I don't go over the line. And basically, you're just laying down your color. But I do think it's important to go in one direction, because if you go in multiple directions, it kind of looks more streaky than if you go. And if you get, sometimes your crayons will give you crumbs, like these little crumbs here. I just use the brush, wipe them off. And then I go over it again with the cotton round. Until it feels smooth. So it's basically really, really, really simple. Now, if you've got a really small area, like right here, you can go in a different direction, because it's almost impossible to go the direction that I'm using. But then once it opens up again, I go back to going in the same direction that I went before. And what I like about the crayons are they're really affordable. I mean, I think it's like $2 or something for a pack of 24. So they're cheap and easy way to do a background if you don't want to spend a lot of money. And what I like to do, especially like on color by numbers and stuff like that, if it's a large background that they want me to do, like a sky or something that's all one color, I don't want to waste my markers on using, you know, to do the background. And so I will more than likely pull out the crayons and use the crayons to do the background. I'm just going to finish this little section here. But there you go. You just wipe it off. And see, it was really dark in this section. And once I wiped it off, it smoothed out the color. And you don't get that waxy feel like you get. It feels really smooth and nice. And that's it. Okay, so that's it. I think that's the last thing that I use on backgrounds. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was helpful to you. I want to thank you all for watching it and stopping by. If I don't have another video, which I probably won't before Thanksgiving, I want to wish all my American counterparts a happy Thanksgiving. And thank you so much. Have a great week, and we'll see you all next time. Live long in color. Bye-bye.